whole age. Alright, yo, we back at it again. You feel me? It's your boy, it's the player back up in this motherfucker. We just came to do it one time for everybody in the community, because we just seem to get pulled this way, that way, ancestry or some DNA, you know what I'm saying? Whatever they feel like taking us, you know what I'm saying? But we gotta get this shit home and let people know that documents are basically the only real way to trace yourself back. Once you find them surnames and where your people is located, you pretty much, if you know the history of America, you could put yourself in this story. Easy. But you gotta know the history. And you gotta know your family's history. Don't just jump the gun. Make sure you start at A and then end at D. Don't just start at D like oh, I'm ancient blah blah and you don't even know your third great grandparent. So, take your time. Take your time, man. It's not no rush. And if you are 100% black European, that is not a problem. If you are half African and half indigenous, that is not a problem. Half indigenous, half Spaniard, half indigenous, half white, that does not matter. The thing is making, shout out to the boy Trump, free Trump. Hey, say what you want to say, but it is what it is. I'm fucking with the boy. We gotta take care of America first. America first. Foundational Americans first. If your people came here after 1870, 1830s, around then, you know what I'm saying, when America was good and settled and opened up for everybody, then we ain't talking to you. We're not. We're not. But you're black European, we got a special thing going on for you. You got to be ready to fight with the crown. As you can see, the crown, karma is catching up to the crown. If you start to look at the DNA of the crown, it's been kept in the family so long that they lost their melanin. They're no longer considered the melanated families of Europe. They're now a white family of Europe. They're sickly. In their old age, they're catching hella diseases. You know what I'm saying? Point to where the son, the little red stepchild who kept most of the melanin, because you can see his red hair and his freckles. He's an albino. Since he kept most of the melanin, he still is having a problem breeding with other modern, you know, how we say albino European women. He cannot mate with them because they have two albino genes that cannot mix with each other. For some reason, they are having a hard, they were having a hard time conceiving with regular women from around there. So he had to go get Meghan Markle. Check out her DNA. You feel me? She out here, well, not her DNA, just her ancestry. She's coming from a stronger bloodline, and they were able to make a baby within no time. He probably nutted on the cover outside of her and got her pregnant. But that's enough of the nonsense. Let me get back into this with y'all. So right now we're on the principal components and analysis of PCA-based findings and populations and genetic studies are highly based and must be reevaluated. Now, personally, my opinion is that Ancestry.com has basically set us back maybe even 600 years in DNA time with what they're going to have to undo. And it's going to be a hard time telling everybody, oh, I made this mistake, or oh, I made a mistake. People don't like to really do that with their product, especially if the regular everyday person doesn't know that it happened. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're a reader or avid researcher such as myself and most other people in the community, you probably won't know these things. You just keep spitting in cups and going on about your day, and motherfuckers making medicines to kill you and your people off so that they could live. You better listen to Bill Gates, man. He on his Thanos shit. He talk about getting rid of some motherfuckers, so keep on giving them your Henrietta Lacks and see where you end up. But let me spark this and let's get to reading. We'll skip through some of this because it's about 35 pages or stuff like that. Yeah, 35. The principal component analysis of PCAs and the multivariate analysis to reduce the complexity of databases while preserving data conveyance. The outcome can be visualized on colorful scatter plots, ideally with only a minimal loss of information. PCA applications implement a well-cited package like Ignosoft or Plink. I've seen Plink a couple of times in different places. I think that's Ancestry. It's the Plink shit. word of advice: if the Arab man at the store is offering you shells, like, hey, try this out, it's trash. Just buy what you was gonna buy. Even if it's free, man, make sure you get what you're gonna get. Then try that shit he gave you last. Just try it first while you got a bunch of weed, just in case you wanna bust your shell back down and roll another one. But I just got these damn zigzag backwoods, ass. Don't do it, blood. Please don't do it. All right. Let me see if I can get this motherfucker to smoke right. It's giving me hell. Okay. Are extensively used in the foremost analysis of population genetics and related fields. Animals and plants and medical genetics, PCA outcomes are used in the shape of study, design, and identify characteristics in individuals and populations and draw historical, ethnobiological conclusions and origins, evolutions, depressions, and relatedness. The replicability crisis in science has promoted us to evaluate whether PCA results are reliable, robust, or replaceable. Oh, replicable. My bad, y'all. We analyzed 12 common test cases using the intuitive color-based model. Alongside human population data, we demonstrate that the PCA results can be artifacts of the data and can be easily manipulated to generate diverse outcomes. PCA adjustments also yield unfavorable outcomes in association studies. So this is like the motherfucker be your cousin on your DNA test. They make them your uncle or your nephew, and then you got to go back in and recorrect it. And then they use their computer to try to recorrect the data entered because they just make it into an internet algorithm. From what I understood, the body is an antenna. DNA is an antenna. Once they unhack this DNA antenna, they're going to try to use satellites to beam a disease into you to alter your DNA. And a lot of you motherfuckers that took that COVID shot, if they didn't tell you that they was altering your DNA, go back and check out my videos that you will be a motherfucking new species of people. So they're basically going to probably hit you with a wave of vibrations, get that DNA to mixing up, getting it to do some strange shit, and boom, you drop dead instantly. It's going to be like a kill switch. A motherfucker going to ask you a question, you going to say no, he going to hit the kill switch. He going to shake your ass up off the earth. But let's keep it moving. Boom. I lost my spot. Our findings raise concern about the viability and the results reported population genetics, literatures, and related fields that place a disproportionate reliance upon PCA outcomes and the insight derived from them. We conclude that the PCA may be a biasing role in genetic investigations, and the 32,216,000 genetic studies should be reevaluated, and alternate admixture for population genetic models is discussed. So basically, like I said, they're taking proxy populations, modern mixed people on every coastline, and they're testing them and trying to make these motherfuckers the ancient people, because DNA only has a 500-year shelf life. So at 500, well, half-life, boom, at 500 years, the DNA is already at its half-life. Now, you telling me that you went and dug up a motherfucking skeleton from the Pleistocene period and you got DNA enough out of it that it wasn't like, you gotta think, they said everybody's 99.9% different and you're 0.1% different from everybody else, but they're studying 0.01% of your DNA, which if anything shows up as 0.01%, they say it is to be classified as a fucking error. So this God is too big. Just like you can't recreate water or air like God made it fresher or cleaner or better than what he did. Some of these things you can't remake it because God did it. You feel me? It is what it is, and they can't accept that. So they're trying to dig into this little proportionate amount of DNA and tell you that they're finding so much about you whenever everybody is basically the same thing. But there's something special God did for certain people. He made sure that they were different. Or he made sure that you made sure that you were different from God's people. And in turn, you staying away from God's people, keeping it in your family and your little group of people, you fucked yourself out of your inheritance. So, welcome, your kids won't be able to survive. And now they're trying to make genetic engineered, what they call them babies, designer babies. Yeah, look up designer babies. Motherfuckers is in there like, I want the baby to have blue eyes, curly hair, light skin. I want him to be about 6'5". Can you alter that shit up? Can you pick those genes and make me one of those babies? That's what they want. The ongoing reproducibility crisis undermining the foundation of science raises various concerns ranging from study design to statistical rigor. Population genetics is confounded by utilizing of small sample sizes, ignorance of effect sizes, and adoption of questionable study designs. So, I call it modern eugenics. A lot of people don't like when I say that, but this is what they did. They went from calling people this, and that to trying to make it like a science that they could eliminate these traits and stop using racist terms. Instead, start using scientific terms to hide the racism. You know what I'm saying? But let's go. Questionable studies out of the field is relatively small and may involve financial interests. So keep certain people out, let certain people in. You know what I'm saying? The ethical dilemmas. Since biases in the field rapidly propagate the related disciplines like medical genetics, biography association studies, forensics, and paleogenomics in humans and non-humans alike. It is imperative to ask whether and to what extent our most elementary tools satisfy risk criteria. Principal component analysis, PCA, is a multivariate analysis that reduces the data to dimensionalities while preserving their covariance when applied to genotypes by allelic data, typical encoded as AA, AB, BB, PCA. Finds the eigenvalues in the eigenvectors and the covariance matrix of alleles frequencies the data and reduced to a small number of dimensions termed principal components, PCs, each described as a decreased portion of the genomic variation. Genotypes are the project onto the space spanned by the PC axis, which allows visualizing the sample and their distances from another in a colorful scatter plot, and the visualization samples overlap and considered evidence of identity due to a common origin of ancestry. PCA, mostly attractive property for the population genetics, is the distance between clusters allegedly reflect the geographic distances between them. The PCA also the projection on the points onto the components calculated by the different databases, presumably accounting for insufficient data in the project data sets initially adapted for human genomics data in 1963. The popularity of PCA has slowly increased over time. It was not until the release of the Smart PCA tool Angiograph package that PCA was propelled to the front page of population genetics. PCA is used as the first analysis of data investigation and data description in most population genetic analysis, e.g. references. It is wide range of applications in the use to examine the population structure of a cohort or the individuals to determine ancestry, analyze the demographic history and admixtures, decide on the genetic similarities and samples that exclude outliers, decided on how to model the population. Downstream analysis describes the ancient and modern genetics and relations between the samples, infer kinship, identity, ancestral clines in the data, e.g. references, detect genomic signatures of natural selection and identify convergent evolution. They about to just go into the tools. You can start to look at some of these. It says extent to which different sized populations produce results with conflicting interpretations is illustrated through the typical study case in box 1. Okay, in box 1, not that unlike figures 1C, 3A, where blacks in the middle and the other figures are overrepresentation of certain alleles shift black away from 00 intuitively. This can be thought of as most common alleles, repelling black with which has 3 null or alternative alleles. PCA is commonly reported as yielding a stable differentiation of continental populations, African versus non-African, European versus Asian, Asians versus Native Americans or Oceanics, or primary PCs. This promoted prehistorical inference of migrations and admixtures, viewing the PCA results that the position of Africa event followed by multiple migrations, differentiation, and admixture events, inference of Amerindians or Aboriginal typical follow. My bad, y'all. Okay, Native Americans, Oceanians, the primary PCs to promote prehistory, inference, migration, and admixture, viewing PCA results in the position in Africa. Events followed by multiple migrations, differentiation, admixtures. Influences for Amerindian or Aboriginal typically follow the reconstruction. For instances, Silva Zolelzi argued that the Zapotecs did not experience a recent admixture due to their location on the Amerindian PCA clusters at the Asian end of European Asian climb, where we showed that the appearance of continental populations that at the corner of the triangle and the artifacts of the sampling scheme, since the variable sample sizes can easily create a alternative result as well as alternative climbs, which we first replicated in triangle depictions on the continental population before altering it. Now East Asian appears as three-way admixed group of Africans, European, and Melanesian, whereas Europeans appear as a African East Asian clan. Europeans can also be made to appear in middle of the plot of an admixed group of Africans, Asians, and Oceanics can cluster with or without East Asians. The latter description maximizes the proportions explained, variates the common wisdoms and correct explanations according to the results. Only European and Oceanics, East Asian and Oceanics are experience the out of Africa event. By contrast of East Asian, the Europeans may have remained in Africa, contrary to Silva Zolelli's Hall's claims. The same Mexican American cohorts can appear closer to Europeans or as a European Asian admixed group. It is easy to see that none of these scenarios stand out as more or less correct than the other ones. Bunch of fucking guessing. They don't know who is who or what is what. They don't know how these people, who mixed with who, or how the shit happened. It's just DNA, man. Arguing about DNA is stupid. It's stupid to even waste your time on some shit like this, because you can't prove it. You cannot prove this shit. You can. You will always be trying to figure it out. You will always be in it till you dig up the bodies, which are too old to be tested by their standards.